All right, Wayne Bettis here, the founder of the Off the Tools podcast. I just want to introduce you to our brand new sponsor, directplumbing.supplies.com. It is founded by a former tradesman who has set up his own plumbing and heating merchants. He has an online shop, which is obviously at directplumbing.supplies.com, and he delivers across the UK. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of the show. Welcome to yet another episode in the Trades Growth Summit. I am absolutely delighted to introduce our next guest, Dan Meredith, who is a best-selling author and just an all-round awesome guy. Welcome to the Trades Growth Summit.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate the invite, and I hope all of you find at least one thing I say useful. So whenever I start this, because obviously I have my own audience, my own business and stuff. So I always say this when I'm on anyone else's platform. There's 6 inches of real estate that I can never, ever invest in. And that's what's between here. So you have your right is completely to think I'm an absolute dickhead if you want to. But equally, even if some of the things I say, think, you know what, I just don't ever want to do that. Super fine, you can do so. But equally, I've helped lots and lots of different businesses, online, offline, trades-based businesses like we're talking about here. To be honest, I'm 3,000 plus businesses I've worked with now from every single size, shape and form. So all I'll say is, like I said, you may be thinking, who the fuck is this bearded chump just telling me what to do? But like I said, I've worked with lots of people. I've got lots of friends who are in the trades. My assistant partner, he has a trades business. I've learned a lot from that as well. So I'll hopefully be able to impart something that will be useful for you and your audience.
Excellent. Wow. Well, that was a lot better introduction to what you've done than I could have given you there. So for those that don't know, Dan, I followed you for years, read your book, and I love that self-confidence, that you are who you are. And your book is lovely called, I hate having to swear on purpose, but it is called How to Be Fucking Awesome. So, you've put a very bold title on that book. So tell us a little bit about the book and where it comes from.
So, honestly, naturally, everything what you've said there is the exact opposite of me. I'm naturally very quiet, very shy, very introverted. When I was younger, I simply saw those who were being a bit more extroverted and kind of a bit more out there living their best lives. And I was a very quiet, shy kid. Wasn't very outgoing at all. So I kind of forced myself to do things I didn't want, like basically kind of stepping out of my comfort zone over and over again. I was a really skinny little thing. I was basically overweight when I was a kid, and I got really, really super skinny. And then, threw myself into like lifting weights and getting bigger. I was a lot bigger than I was now, but I kind of got big into the training side of things, and then just kind of forced myself to develop over time. It actually wasn't my idea for that title. That was my publisher's idea. And I still, every time I say it, I'm just kind of like you just sound fucking awesome. But the whole concept of the book is that the whole premise is really your level of awesome, whatever your life may be, is for you to define. And I think a lot of people get trapped a lot of people get trapped thinking they're stuck in one way of being, or that their life is always going to look like this. Whereas actually, with a little bit of time, to reflect, figure out what you actually want, and then take action accordingly, you can change. I felt I was going to be stuck where I was doing the sort of things I was doing for a long period of time. And I have just to give you a bit of backstory, where I went into sort of entrepreneurship in my own businesses. I have a little sister who's brain damaged. She was born with epilepsy. She unfortunately died. We got back to living again, but unfortunately a bit of damage occurred on the way. So I remember seeing I think it was a Dispatches, which was based in the area where I live in the country. And it was some care homes for adults, like my sister would be when she was older. And I thought to myself, right, well, I need to work my bollocks off to make sure I've got enough money to look after her when, mum and dad, unfortunately my dad passed away last year. But, I thought to myself, in, future me, I've got to hustle, I've got to start to work. And that's what started my journey off on, self-improvement, self-development, entrepreneurship, business, so on and so forth. And the kind of rest is sort of history from there. So it's a little bit of a backstory to it. But the concept is it's your definition of what you want your best life to be. I mean, some people would like a couple of holidays a year, make sure there's money in the bank, more property. Some people want to, grow a team. They don't want to work in their business anymore. Some people just, like I own a a gym as well, like one of the lads who works for me, I've offered him every opportunity for growth and development and stuff, and he wants to earn this amount of money. He literally just wants to do 7 till 7, 2 hours of training in the middle, Monday to Friday. That's it. And I've tried to say, so it's your level of, basically defining what you like. And the reason it's done so well, and I've had a lot of people from, a lot of people who aren't fans of books and aren't fans of reading really like the book because of the way that I've written it. So it's very conversational. It's based off stuff that I did at the time. It wasn't me coming in saying, oh, look at me, I'm this fucking dirty big bollocks swinging it around and stuff. It was just a case of, well, these are the things that I did. Cost me a lot of money, time, effort, trial, error, failures to get here. So I wrote it down. There you go. Copy it. It's a tenner. So it's been really well received. A lot of people who have, got a lot of people who struggle with reading and maybe sort of dyslexic or sort of not a fan of books, people who haven't read since school, a lot of people who really just don't enjoy the idea of self-development have really got off to. It's a mixture of basically working on yourself, working on your business, and the skills that got me from literally fuck all, like literally zero, to where I was at the time.
Wow, amazing. And I read and listened to it, a good few years ago.
Thank you very much.
I won't lie. It's been a while since I listened to it, but I know that the impact it had on me was massive because it just opened my personal development and self-development. Is once you've sort of embraced it, you understand it. But until that point, it's looked at a bit of a weird thing, isn't it? Does that make sense?
And I definitely say as a guy as well, we have less space to talk. If you haven't got, a close group of friends or mates and that are, able to talk and share things about, sometimes you can get the piss taken out of you if you're trying to work on yourself or better yourself. It can be difficult. And I know I faced that as well. And I found as a guy, there wasn't very much I didn't feel there was much for me out there. Like, there was a lot of people who were either like stupidly academic and really bright at stuff, or just seemed to have everything going from there, like really good looking, they had a blue tick, they had all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I remember starting off at the bottom, thinking, fuck, how do I get there? And I just thought, well, the answer is just literally work on what can I control? So myself, and what can I do? I can work. So that was it. So it's kind of a real broke it down into the simplistic format, and just I had no idea I'd get to here now, and I have no idea where the future's going to be. I've got a rough idea, kind of a bit of a blueprint, but I never expected to be here now on stuff like your summit, and it's a very nice surprise. I think it's been a bestseller in a lot of countries, and I think the last time I remember Barnes and Noble just bought 250,000 copies of it, which is insane. It's insane, just last summer. So it's nuts. And I say that not to brag at all. I genuinely come from a lowish income family. We didn't have much growing up, but I didn't know it until I was older, sort of thing. And I always said, I'd return the favor to my family when I had the opportunity to do so, and give back as well, because it feels nice to help others.
So for those that are watching this or listening to this, this could be one of their first experiences in looking at developing themselves and their business. What bit of advice would you give them to sort of get through these first few hurdles?
Firstly, I mean, the main thing that I'm known for is getting shit done. So productivity, and that's why I got really fascinated thinking how much work can I condense into the shortest amount of time possible, because I'd been self-employed before, I've been on an hourly rate before, so my logic, the more I can condense, that gives me more hours, so I can do more work. And that did eventually lead to burnout, which is something I don't recommend, but I do believe everything has a backbone of hard work. So one of the main things that I recommend to people now, the Dan that wrote that book is a bit different from the Dan now, still the same human being, but just obviously I've evolved. It's been 6 years since it was written now. But one of the main things I recommend to people is just being really, really honest with yourself and taking some time out to reflect on where you are. Are you happy? Are you doing the things you want to do? And often what you think is the problem isn't the problem. Like with a lot of my clients, they say, I want to grow my business to X. I want this amount of clients, but their health is dog shit, or their relationship is starting to fail, or they're just not happy, or they're exhausted. They just don't have any time split between, partner duties, kids, obviously working on the tools throughout the day and stuff. It's just they're knackered. And it is actually kind of realizing, I mean, one of the things that was very powerful for me was my dad passed last year. And he was a working man. He worked up until 66, retired, gone by 69. That's it. And he'd been in work since he was 14, well, younger than that, but like almost he left home at 14, 15. So he'd been in full-time work ever since then. So he works his whole life, just a few years, last few years, obviously kind of besieged by cancer. So it's not really, it kind of really made me realize that you actually do, we all know we've only got one life, but it's just actually thinking, if you're not happy with your life is now, then it doesn't have to stay there, but you have to take time out to just reflect, and you can change and you can grow and you can earn more money and you can grow your business and you can do all of these things. But taking the first step is generally basically getting really, really clear on what you want from life and defining what your level of success is. For some people, it is a financial amount. Some people it's freedom. Some people it's time. Some people, they just honestly want to stay where they are, but have, more, just feel better. So everyone has their own, and I do cringe when I say a level of fucking awesome, but it's like, you've got to figure out what you want and then work from there. I'd thought, certain financial goals, and equally certain individuals that I'd sort of dated and stuff as well. I thought that would make me feel better about myself, and that was, the big tick that I was looking for. And I achieved some of those milestones. Dated some lovely people, went to some great events, earned a certain amount of money, and it didn't fill that kind of hole inside of me, because I always knew there's something more I wanted from my life, and I had to take time out to actually think about what I actually wanted. If that makes sense.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. And it sort of was like my next sort of question-ish. I think you've sort of half answered here anyway, but it was how do you find what you want? I get asked a lot, like, I don't know. I'm not sure what I actually want in my life.
Okay.
What did you do to unearth that?
For me personally,
advise?
I've always been a hard worker. My ethos was, I may not be necessarily the brightest or the most talented at whatever I was doing, but I'll get up earlier than you, I'll go home later than you, and I'll work longer than you. That was my thing. I'll just outwork you. That was not you, but in whatever environment it is, I'll just achieve my goals through pure spite and willpower. And that's too, I think one of my chapters in my book is Be Spiteful. Is just fuck it. You said I can't do it. Well, I'm going to do it then. So that's a very powerful motivator for a lot of people. But for me personally, it was actually taking time to figure out what I've done all my life. It's so for example, ever since I was a kid, I've always sort of brought people together, not in a kind of party boy kind of, I always felt like a bit of an outsider. So I had friends, I was okay as a kid, and I think I kind of got a bit of a pass because of my sister. I didn't really get any grief when I was younger, but I equally didn't not. Do you know what I mean? It's just normal childhood, yeah. Always quite quiet, quite shy. People would forget about me and stuff. So I kind of like, you forgot to invite me out, so I'll do my own fucking party then, or I'll do my own thing. And I would always bring the outsiders together, and then we build our own, club, so to speak. So it's what I've been doing my whole life anyway. And then someone said to me, that's what that is actually something you could monetize in terms of business. Like, oh, fuck it isn't. It's just me being me. But I think taking time out to think, what would you do? And again, it sounds easy to say, and I've been there, but if money wasn't necessarily the main objective, just think to yourself, how would you operate differently if you didn't have to do the things you did? That's probably very impractical for a lot of people, but it's just a thought exercise more than anything. To just think, what would I do? How would I be? Why would I do what I'm doing? And just getting really clear on your whys. Like, my why's always been my sister and my family. That's it. Followed by, to be honest with you, being an entrepreneur, which all of you watching this are. If you have your own business, you are an entrepreneur. Whether it's just one person or a group of you, you are an entrepreneur. That is it. It's quite lonely. And especially for those people, there's nothing. And the thing is, like, a lot of people in my position kind of get a bit, look down their noses at people who have jobs. And I'm like, I really fucking don't like that at all. So it's like, well, then you're looking down on me and my past, my mum, my dad, a lot of people I care about. The security of regular income is a big thing for a lot of people. But equally, with that, you obviously give up, some control, and a lot of people are like, 1 or 2 months away from it all going tits up anyway. So I thought to myself, well, what can I control? Take back ownership of that. I'll double down on the things that I know I'm good at, and create it from there. So it's going to be different with obviously the audience that you've got there, because obviously for them it's probably going to be, they're skilled experts at what they do. Maybe they want more time, more money, and that's going to be based around, positioning. What do you want to be known as? Like a friend of mine is an electrician. His phone does not stop because he simply is the best in that area. He is the only person people go to. He's the first, and he literally stacked out with work, stacked out, because the quality of his work is so good. And he just spent years letting people know, not letting people know, but just that his work did the talking for him. And that's kind of what my work's done as well. The results of my clients have allowed me to grow. So that's, there was a real buffet of stuff there. I went off on a bit of a tangent, but I hope you got someone got something out of that.
I'm sure there is, and there's going to be plenty of little snippets that I can cut from that. That was fantastic little speech there. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And again, it's led me. It's like, just so everyone is aware, right? We haven't pre-planned any of this conversation, right?
1 minute prior to going this live was our chat. Anything we want to talk about, not talk about, cool, let's do it. That is
exactly, and it's led me straight into again another great question that I wanted to get to. Is in our industry, and I'm sure it's the same across all different life works of businesses, but we have a phrase called a busy fool. Yeah. So where you're working for with no direction. Do you know? What would you say to somebody like you mentioned, your friend there, that is busy with loads of work coming in, phone constantly ringing? Can that be a hindrance at the same time?
Yeah, it can be. I mean, one thing I do, and this is probably more getting really clear, especially for those people that say, if you're an individual right now with a trade of some description, and you're wanting to maybe be less on the work and maybe, have a bit more free time. So realistically, two things you can do: put prices up. So obviously be the premium option in your area, so you'll have less people but they pay more. So that's option one. Or option two is recruit someone. So that'll probably be bring someone up underneath you, to take on some of the work and stuff. And I have built everything I've built off something I call the hate list. And all I do, which sounds really negative, but I write out every single thing I fucking hate doing. All the things I hate doing. And then it's so much easier. It's like that whole concept of a positive review versus a negative review. Because it's 7 or 9 times more the negative one will go. So it's so much easier. I fucking hate doing this. I hate doing that. Don't want to do this anymore. And that list often is either two things. Number one, it becomes a system. So I look at a way of seeing, how can I outsource it? Do I get rid of it? Is it something I need to do? Look at everything really objectively. Or that is often the person I hire. So every single person I've recruited for my businesses has come off that. My first hire in my online business was someone who I've like mild dyspraxia, so dyslexia, so I struggle with anything more than about 5 items to do. I'm just like, my brain gets really overwhelmed. So tech stuff is not my forte. Like, I'm good with communication and people and stuff, but the bolting back endy thing. So I literally made a list of all the shit I hated doing, and then I hired my first person there, and then my assistant, and then everyone else has come off the back of that list. So basically being dead honest. So what do I fucking hate doing? So what, and then looking at it objectively. Some stuff you have to do, like I've got to do my accounting, got to do my finance, got to do all the back end bits. Only I can control that. But realistically, there was loads of stuff I thought, I'm kidding myself that I need to do that. And it was, again, if you choose to get my book, I'm not pitching it. It's, you can even find this for free if you put in my name and put in 3/5 system. That will give you everything as well. I'll put it as a blog somewhere. One of the things I used to do, still do it to this day. I've been doing it for, a long time. So it comes from I was a personal trainer back in the day, lost everything in London, moved back home. I'm not from London, but I'd gone to the big smoke to make my money. Did all right. Let's just say made a couple of interesting choices, and then decided, I need to tap out of this. Went back home. I ended up getting this client, and he was a really unassuming guy. He used to drive to the gym in a smart car. This was 10 plus years ago. And I didn't know what he did. He'd come in at like 10 in the morning. So I thought, he must, have his own business or something if he can kind of come and go as he pleases. And then we got friends. He ended up signing up with me as a client, and we started talking. And he told me about this 3/5 system. And basically all it is he used to do a big old brain dump, and his boss told him way back in the day, and he'd have been 50 when I met him, that he used to work in the tech industry. He said, do a minimum of 3 and a maximum of 5 things every day that move your life and business forward. So basically did a big old brain dump. So you get everything out of your head, just literally write it all out. And this is the thing. Leaving it in your head is the biggest mistake. It never happens. Just get a notepad. I mean, literally there's always one within arm's reach of everywhere I go. So I get it out of my head, then I rank it. Number 1, only I can do it. Super important, makes money. It's my skill, my job. Number 2, fairly important, but it's not this we have now. 3, not that important really. And what you find, and I would just put 3 to 5 ones in my diary every day. And do you know what I found? A lot of these 2s and 3s, they just dropped off. They were important to other people. They wanted me to do something for them. Like with regards to this interview, like this was, this was a 2. And what I mean by that, it's very important. I definitely wanted to do it. But when Wayne reached out to me, I was in the middle of launching a new business. So I kind of was like, right, it's important because I love the charity you're supporting. And I'm very proud to be a part of it. So thank you for the invite. But I was like, right, well, it's not a 1 this week, but it was a 1 today. Does that make sense? It's like a 2. Yep, can get it done. I said, Wayne, we can do it. It's just being really honest with yourself and putting yourself at the center of your own, dartboard. Yeah. You are the bullseye. So that's the thing. And you may think, I thought to myself, that's a good bit of advice and stuff. And then I kind of sort of was chatted to him. I said, what do you do? And he pointed up to a house on the hill. And he said, well, I'd asked him, where does he live? And he goes, well, there. And it's the biggest, it's huge, the biggest house in my whole town. I'm like, fucking hell, you live there. It's famous. It's been on like TV and stuff. And then he had a business that was worth, I think, about 40 or 60 million or something crazy like that. Self-owned, did it himself from scratch, using this system. And I believe, one of the big tech companies that I've used to come to him to solve their problems, their household name. So this is a guy who is literally started off at nothing. I knew his story, I knew his partner and stuff. And they lived in a studio, literally two of them together when they started this business, and grew it from nothing. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to listen to that man. And then I just evolved it into something a bit more for us entrepreneurs.
Yeah, wow, that's fantastic to hear. And from that, you mentioned obviously a gym. You obviously look after yourself. Did you say you own a gym as well? Is that
I do?
Right?
Yes. Yeah. That was my first business.
And you still own one now, and obviously, from the looks of you still look after yourself. So how
not as much as I used to, but yeah. The goal is now simply less worse. That is the plan now. That's it. I'm 41 now. It's just slowing the decline. That's all I'm aiming for.
So how important would you say, though, keeping a handle on your personal fitness and health and what you do?
I will say, as someone, so I'm, to put it this way, if you'd have interviewed me, let's just say a year ago, I wouldn't have looked quite like this. So I've dropped. I was very, very skinny. I was basically overweight, very, very skinny, and then got big into powerlifting and stuff like that, and playing rugby and stuff. Wasn't particularly good rugby player. I was just big and strong. That was my thing. I just run into people. That was my goal. I thought, right, well, I don't know how to, I can't really pass on my left. So I thought I'd just be a unit instead. But anyway, scale forward a bit. I'd say my sleep was absolute dog shit. Getting a few hours of concurrent sleep a night. Wasn't particularly happy. Was pounding coffee like nobody's business. Blood pressure was high. I'm 4 stone lighter than I was 6 months ago.
Wow.
With my dad, with obviously like all of us, took a hit last year with COVID. When dad was in his, final stages, my family moved in with me, probably a bit of comfort eating, wasn't able to go to the gym as much. I'll be honest, I did look a bit like a sack of shit, to be honest with you, but there's nothing wrong with being it. You can be any shape and size you want, but it wasn't so much the look, it's just how I felt. I was tired all the time. Like I said, so it's like kind of catch-22. I'd be working myself stupid, so I'd end up getting like takeaways at the end of the night or something quick because I just was so fucking hungry. Then I'd sleep badly because I'd ate shit food and too late in the day. Then it'd be caffeine. Then the caffeine would stop me, and it was just this vicious cycle. So it was a very uncomfortable month where I had to put a lot of, habits in place. But honestly, one of the most powerful things that I did was getting a handle on my sleep and my caffeine intake. So I'd say if I could give, your health, fitness, training, like whatever it is you like doing, find a way. Your body's a machine, and having getting quite athletic and quite strong and stuff, letting it go. I said to myself when I lost that weight, that's it. It's the older you get, the harder it gets as well. I thought, I am not fucking doing this again, ever. So I got, I have again, all with systems. I have food ordered, delivered at the same time, like kind of my shopping. Get all the healthy food delivered once a week. There's no snacks. There's nothing in this house at all, that is anything but healthy. It's just fruit, veg, lean protein. And obviously it's different if you've got families and stuff, but if it's in the house, 3 a.m. Dan will find it. So I will just be going off scuttling around trying to find the snacks. But I would say, since I've got a handle on but that aside, sleep was the most important thing. And I would just say, if I can give you some real simple tips, is go to bed at the same time, get up at the same time. I haven't got any with me, but I wear these blue blocking glasses in the evening. So as the night comes, I will wear them because basically the blue from our screens and our phones and stuff totally fucks with our sleep cycle. So from about 10 o'clock, I try and stay away from, I have no devices from 10 o'clock, no devices in the morning. Do not reach for this first thing. Literally try and have, it doesn't have to be extensive, but a morning and an evening routine where you unwind, again, if you can. It's harder for some people. I used to struggle to fall asleep, so I'd fall asleep with the TV on. I eventually moved that to podcasts, eventually moved that to a bit of a sound machine. And now I can, most nights I can fall asleep without anything. It just takes time. I've done it my whole life, struggled to sleep. But, getting my caffeine intake sorted, drinking more water, eating healthier, having a morning and evening routine, and having time when this bloody thing was off was key. No scrolling in bed, no nothing. Because honestly, getting my sleep sorted was probably the biggest change that I've had to help me feeling a bit more productive. It's made me more money. It's made me happier. It's put me in a better mood.
One thing I've noticed on that point exactly, you don't look like, you might have, but you don't look like you're wearing any fitness trackers or anything like that.
I've just taken it off. Just taken it off. Yeah. Okay. I just took it off for this. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing with my hands and stuff. But yeah, I use something called an Aura ring. That's to go help me with my sleep. But realistically, that's just sorry, I'm not swearing at you, but I wear it on this finger. Sorry, it's a band I wear on this finger, and that helps because my sleep was that bad. I was, but I didn't know what I didn't know, so it allowed me to track my heart rate, my sleep, the depth of my sleep, and then I found out what works for me and what doesn't. Like, we're all different. So I'm naturally a night owl, so I start my day later, which is normal. So my genetic type is that I start my day later, but I finish later. So for me, I tend to go to bed a little bit later, but I have the mornings to myself, and I prefer that. Again, it's not practical for everyone, but I just, I was able to optimize myself in that way. Realistically, all I do is I use an app called NutriCheck, and I use the step counter on that. I hit 10,000 steps a day, and I try and I keep to 2,000, which is about 2,000 calories a day, keep my protein at a certain level. And then on a weekend, I've got a surplus, so I can have fun if I want. I generally go for my mum and sister. My sister cooks for me. She has like a special needs class and stuff. So I generally eat whatever calorific fare she's created. So it means I can have a life as well. But yeah, I can't go back to that time again. Yeah, but I will say those two things. Yeah, I'm a big fan of sensible tech, which is getting my steps in, getting my sleep in order, just being mindful of what I put in my mouth. #lol, is very, very key.
That's definitely getting a snippet, that bit, I'll tell you.
Don't you dare, you bastard.
The reason I mentioned is because I wear a thing called a Whoop band. And
big fan of them as well.
For very similar reasons, was because I just felt like crap.
Well, I've put it now. Yeah, it's usually, I think I've moved it in the other room. But yeah, I wear it, it's just literally a band there. Yeah, brilliant.
So for anyone listening, there's obviously a whole variety, Fitbits, Apple, like there's loads. But tracking it for me was like the wake up call that I needed because you could physically see it on the graphs and everything.
Tracking full stop, whether it's your health, fitness, sleep, business, whatever, like knowing your numbers. I fucking hate admin. I hate doing all the paperwork. So I'd hate it. Fucking hate it. But as soon as I got a handle on the numbers and I started tracking them, if you track, the amount of calls you get, messages you get from your website, amount of times you put adverts in papers or Facebook flyers, Facebook ads, or whatever it is you do, if you track that, just tracking it, just the very act of tracking it actually makes it better because you're thinking about it differently. Yeah. So if I have my basics, I have my genuine metrics I use for my business. I look at them every Sunday. I go through everything. It just said, how many posts did I do? What emails did I send out? What pitches did I do? All that sort of stuff. And I just track, and then I can give a chart of seeing. So I've had a certain, if I have a certain month of success here, for example, I can look back. What did I do over the last 3 months? And it's the same with everything else. The act of tracking it, keeping an eye on things, writing things down, having a way you do it is key. Yeah. It massively made it, not burying your head in the sand. If things aren't going wrong, try and step out of it emotionally, look at it objectively, and just look at the numbers.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Keeping your attention on your intentions, isn't it? Just keeping an eye on it all. So obviously you mentioned right at the beginning, I'm going to rewind a little bit because I missed to ask the question on this. You said about outworking people. Yeah, that was your forte. Yeah, basically putting the thing in. What's your balance like with not working? Are you an addict to the work and just go?
To be honest, I'll say so. For example, you choose how hard you want to play the game. Okay, I said I would sacrifice 5 years of my life to potentially live the rest of my life how I needed to for my sister and for myself. To be honest with you, I thought, right, I'll go all in. I had two. I don't even know if they were heart attacks, but we'll just call them little heart wobbles. I pushed myself to that limit. Wow. I had a bit of a drink problem as well, more of a drink hobby. Worst thing I ever heard was the term functional alcoholic, because I became one. I thought, hold on, you can run a business and be pissed all day long. Fuck yes. So I don't drink at all anymore. I mean, get horses, courses, if you can drink sensibly and enjoy it, awesome. Once I start, I couldn't stop. Nothing bad ever happened, but just a case of, there is no sensible drinking. So I thought I'll nick that on the head. And again, I'm not one of those pious people who says, you should drink. If you enjoy it, fucking have a great time. But for me, as soon as I cut that out, again, everything went up again. That's just for me. But I'm so sorry, wait. I went off a tangent. What was the fucking question again? And I do apologise to everyone watching. I get excited.
That's okay. That's okay. It was time off. Basically, the question was, how do you balance working hard and trying to get where you want to get to?
Got it. My apologies. Relaxing. Yeah. For me, I think if you're starting out, embrace hard work. You're going to be tired. You're going to be working long hours. You are going to not feel fantastic to start off with. Nothing good comes easy, and you can't cheat time. I was very prepared for the long term, and a lot of people think, set up a business, do this. It needs to be measured in years and sometimes decades, as opposed to weeks and months. A lot of people just think too short-termist. But one of the main things that I do is I use this phone and I put things on repeat. So there was a bizarre little thing that I used to do it when I was a PT, because remember I said I struggled with the numbers and data and stuff. So what I did is I had a 13-month year. So I'd put everything on 4-week rotation, because in my head, I could tell my phone to do something weekly, then nothing had to change. So all my clients were going weekly. So instead of like first a month, I just put it on a weekly rotation. So I changed my whole business round about a year or so ago. I thought, right, I'm going to do that again, because that was brilliant. So I now have, again, not everyone can do this. It took me 8 years to get to this point. So I work 3 weeks on, 1 week off, but in my off week, that's where I kind of work on the business fully. So it's kind of balances out nicely. And every single thing in my diary, I put myself first. And what I mean by that is, that means I put my fitness, family, self-development, walks, time off. So everything that makes Dan able to stay sane, and I'll be honest with you, that is the main thing, goes in first. So family time, friends time. Yeah. And it sounds a little bit boring, and so if you're very freedom oriented and you don't like being told what to do, I'm just saying, I fucking hate being told what to do. Hate it. I'm self-employed, have my own business, because I cannot be managed. Well, I can be, but it's very challenging. You basically have to just basically point me off and go do it. I don't want to talk to you. So with that caveat in mind, I was a bit reticent, but I put everything in my diary on repeat. I do the same things, same week. And on my off week, I make sure I have a real big day with my mum and sister. I see my old school friends. I see my friend. So I do everything, and it's on repeat. And I am consistently happy, not buzzing off my tits happy, blah, blah, blah. It's just as long as I listen to the phone and I adjust it, every quarter I'll review it. Am I still on track for my training, with my business, with my life, personal stuff, whatever. If it is, I just keep it going, and everything's on repeat. But I put myself first, and it's not being selfish in an arsehole way, especially if you've got dependents, partner. You do have to do the stuff that makes you and makes you happy. Like, I'm a massive motorbike fan. Okay, Ducatis are my things. I've got a few. I love going out on my motorbike, but I realized if I don't go out on my motor, and I'm an all-weather rider, I go out. Do you remember it was the start of the pandemic? I think there was that fucking hurricane.
Yeah.
I went down to Devon in that hurricane because I said I was going, and I literally had one arse cheek hanging off the side of the bike, and I was leaning into the wind to stay upright. And I was doing 40 miles an hour on a motorway. Stupid, utterly stupid. I'll go, but if I don't go out for a bike ride once a week, if I don't at least lift weights twice a week, if I don't see or speak to my mum and sister, family stuff, every couple of weeks, if I don't go out of the area that I live and do something once a month, I just start to go a little bit awry. Yeah. So it goes like this normally, and it starts to go like that.
Yeah.
So I just make sure I factor all that in first, then work. So I still work hard, but I just make sure I do the stuff that keeps me ticking along, keeps me happy. And again, especially since losing Dad, family and friends have become even more close to me. And I think as you get older, that gets harder and harder to do. And you have to make an effort to do that because, virtually no one gets to their deathbed and wish they worked more. They just don't.
No, definitely.
And I'm not saying this. You've got to bear in mind, when I say some very mindful something, you might be thinking, oh, fucking sorry for you little twat. And again, you're allowed to think that. But I took, how old am I again? 41. 8-9 years of doing this constantly to get to the point where I could have some time back and could do it. And that was my choice. You have a choice how you want to play your hand. That's it.
I love hearing that structure because I do something very similar. I call it my non-negotiable diary. So it's just a simple Google diary with my non-negotiable things in, like school runs, golf, personal development time for what I want to do, and that goes in first before anything else. And
it's one thing I'll say to everyone, if you can, okay, I fucking love technology, right? These are brilliant, but make it work for you, not the other way around. So I'd say there's a really good book I read called How to Break Up with Your Phone. Okay. But even if you just want a simple, like literally, this is one my mentor gave me, dead simple tip. I put so for example, WhatsApp for me is friends, family, personal. Yeah. That's that. Everything else, my notifications are off. Everything. Okay. And I literally turned it all off and put them all into one bubble, like on an iPhone. Yeah. I don't know how you do it on I should presume it's the same on an Android as well. But all of them go in there because the literal ping drives you fucking mad. And especially if you've got people hassling you, or if you're trying to work on a job or you're doing something that's fucking going off and stuff, you need to focus. Okay. You can't flip from two things. Multitasking is a bit of a myth, to be honest with you. It's called attentional focus, and equally something called decision fatigue. We're trying to do too many things at once. So I just thought, fuck it, I'm not doing it. And I literally have 4 reminders. So my day will probably be very different to some of yours, but I have one. So I start my day at 10 and finish at 10. So I move my day up. So I literally have a reminder which says check email, check social. I've got 4 of those throughout the day, and that's it. So if somebody pings me, okay, that's you wanting something from me, okay? But I'll get back to you on my time, not your time, okay? Now, it's different. Obviously, if you're on certain trades, you need to be on a call, emergency things as well. But use your phone as your friend. Have times where it is off, no notifications, screen free, and just be present. Everyone's like this nowadays, just staring at their phone, looking at stuff. Like, put it down, look up, like experience the world as much as you can. Now, I have been, okay, and if you end up reading my book, and even if you don't, there's a point where I lost everything, and I ended up working doorman at a strip club in London, and I was literally robbing sandwiches out of bins to keep going. So I've been, on my arse before, okay? But I saw it as an adventure. I was like, fuck it, I'll figure out how can I feed myself for nothing. So that was my little plan then. And I'm telling you all this because, again, some of these things may seem easy, but is it easier for me now? Yeah, of course it is. But obviously I have these years of doing it. But think to yourself, again, life it's brilliant if you let it, and it's shit if you let it. And so what I've realized is I curate my feed and what goes into my head. I don't let any toxic people come in. If anyone's shitty, I just get rid of them, delete them, block them, remove them. I do not allow it in because I don't need other people's negative. It doesn't mean they're bad people. They're totally entitled to their opinion. They can say what they want. That's it. But I don't have to listen either. So I make sure things are on my time. I fill my brain up with good quality stuff, and I spend time with humans. And I think especially post-pandemic, we've become like this, too screening. So especially if you get older, and I'm going to say especially to the guys who are watching as well, you have to make an effort as we get older. More responsibilities kick in. We've got family obligations, life obligations, work obligations. Make time to see your friends. Now, me and my boys had this chat the other day, right? So we worked out, we meet up as a group, so all my old school friends, once every 2 years, and we're all 40, 41, yeah? So realistically, we said we're going to meet up 10 to 12 more times tops at this rate before we're dead. And when you put it like that, that's a really kind of like, fucking hell, that we used to see, obviously we're kids then, it's different. But actually understanding that, you will miss these people when they're gone. And actually taking time out to go out, experience life, enjoy life. Work is important, and work will give you the freedom to go out and do things you need to do. That's always going to be the bedrock of what I suggest, but not at the expense of life. You can still do things. I do lots of things. I'm very mindful of spending and stuff, but there's lots of, I love Britain. I think it's great. There's loads of stuff to do. I love the countryside. There's walks, there's places you go to, museums, there's loads of stuff you can do. There's loads of like offers and coupons and vouchers and stuff. Like, you just got to make an effort to connect with humans as well. Don't spend too long behind the screen. I'm going to give kudos to a technology company here, because Apple, on their latest update, I don't know if it's the same for Android and whatever, but they've created these like no notification zones that are very customizable now. Oh, really? Yeah.
And you can label them. So like, I've got like, if I click on a certain app, so if I click on my meditation app, for example, it stops whatever I've told it to stop happening.
Oh, that's brilliant. We don't have that on Apple's yet.
And I can click the same for like, if I want to like kid time, boom, I click the button. That's it. Nothing's going to happen now. Like, my phone's not going to go crazy. Like, really easy.
Everything is vying for your attention nowadays. And your attention is one of the most valuable things you can give. And I've learned this the hard way, because I've lost, relationships, friendships, because I haven't been present. Because I've been so focused on the work and the phone and just replying to people. And actually, you are in control. You can, be present. And I say it's one of the best gifts you can give someone is actually your genuine attention. We're so pulled everywhere. And how I mean, one of the things that genuinely depresses me when the world started opening is, I was dead excited to go out to restaurant stuff. It's just seeing people, couples and stuff. Yeah, by all means, take a photo of your date night and your family. But they're all sat around like this. And I'm like, what are we doing? Why are we even going out? So again, use the phone as a tool, but remember to put it away as well, and be present. It's just,
What was that book you mentioned? Can you reference
How to Break Up with Your Phone?
How to Break Up with Your Phone. Right. I think that's going to be a worthwhile listen or read for a lot of people. That definitely I'm going to be getting it. So, because I'm far from perfect on that front.
Awesome.
It sounds like you're very structured and disciplined, and so
not naturally.
But I think it was Jocko Willink that I heard this from, that discipline equals freedom. I didn't want to butcher the quote there. And it sounds like you echo that statement. I
mean, I went through a phase, and this was more to help me when, I've always been, when it came to work, very disciplined. I would happily get up early, go to bed late, work. But a lot of my personal stuff, less so. I'd let myself slip. So, and I used to hear this statement, how you do one thing is how you do all things. But I kind of disagree with it a little bit more now. But often what you'll find is if you apply a lot of discipline to one area of your life, it will kind of tend to bleed over into other areas. So for me personally, I mean, I've always struggled with my size. I've been big and small a few times, but getting my nutrition and sleep in order. So that was my first bit of control, just tracking that. And that was the discipline. So that was the bedrock. On fucking cold showers first thing in the morning. Utterly stupid. I fucking hate it. It's miserable, but I do it every morning to prove that I can do it every morning. It's utterly ridiculous. I actually do feel good. It is like an espresso to the brain. It does wake you up. I'm not really one of these cold shower fanatics, but I've been doing it now for so long. It's just a thing I do. It's a habit that I've built.
So quickly on that, do you cheat? Do you go warm to cold, or do you just go straight in balls deep cold?
I'll tell you exactly how I do it. I give myself a minimum of 2 minutes, and I set a countdown timer for 10 seconds. And then that's the one, and I generally put some fucking metal or some hard dance on just to get me in the mood. And I literally see the countdown timer, and it's 10, 9, 8, and literally foot goes in the shower on 3, 2, 1, under. Oh. No hot shower. No, I don't do hot to cold. I go straight to cold now, and I hate it. But every morning I try and talk myself out of it. Every morning I do it. Stupid. But discipline, like finding a way to be disciplined. And I think as well, physical exercise, some sort of exertion, doing some things which initially aren't going to be comfortable, and sticking at it are key. But also one of the things I've learned is just being really honest with yourself. Like I would say, I'm going to get up and do, some spinning or some cycling or some running first thing. I'll lift, and it just, I just kept coming up with excuses not to do it. So I also learned to work with my body and with my energy levels as well. So I know the best time for me to train is the evening, hence why I get in the morning, get all my own stuff for the day done. So in the evening I can go and train and do stuff. So discipline doesn't care if you're motivated. It doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't care if you're in a good mood or a bad mood. It's just something you do. And what you find is if you do it for long enough, it just becomes who you are. I was not disciplined. I was a hard worker. I like work till I break. Okay, back again. Now I'm disciplined with everything, and it has helped my life and businesses immensely. But it's practice. You will not succeed first time. And I will say this, when you're setting yourself some goals or any challenges, is to grow your business, get more clients, get into certain fitness, productivity, whatever. Be realistic. Create goals that were, going to push you a little bit out of your comfort zone. But what you'll find is if you try and say if you do nothing, like, right, I'm going to go running every morning, I guarantee you'll get maximum a week, maybe 2 into it. One morning, you'll be like, fuck this, and you'll never do it again. So be realistic with your goals, your energy, your life, your time scales and stuff. But honestly, discipline is something I was not. And it is like a muscle. I built it by just doing it over and over again.
Wow. Do you know what? I think I'm going to end this chat on that note. That was the perfect bit of advice there. So thank you so much, Dan. It's been an absolute pleasure. As you know, I always get this wrong. We're here to raise money for Help for Heroes. You must have donated to be watching this, but if you found any value in this, or if you want to see more of Dan, first of all, go and donate again to Help for Heroes. Secondly, I believe you've got I believe you have got a fantastic Facebook group called Coffee with Dan. Is that correct?
That's correct. Free Facebook group. So we have all different types of entrepreneurs, business owners, offline, online, everything you can name. We work and help with there. It's totally free. Just people who like a good community. I would say if you want to learn more about growing your business, productivity, health, wellness, just basically, if you want to get more shit done, it's a great group to join. And we are we keep the outside world outside. So all the shit that's going on in the world, we just don't talk about it. We kind of it's a safe, I hate the term, but it is a safe space from all the rubbish, all that, just that bucket, that's elsewhere. We are grown-ups, we have fun, we have dirty chat in there, but we also really supportive, really helpful. And honestly, people just give freely. You could go in there and ask a question which may seem stupid to you, and let 20 people just dive on it and give you advice. I'm really proud of that community.
No, it is fantastic. I run a couple of communities, and I'm part of yours because of the value, the energy in there. Do you know what I mean? It really is a fun place to be. And if you love, I know obviously I've been following you for years, but Dan is like a content master with his words. He writes these massive posts, and it's really, really interesting to just following his stuff and what he writes about and that. So please make sure you go over and check that out.
Thank you.
And yeah, we'll end that there. So thank you very much, Dan. It's been an absolute
Thank you for
pleasure.
watching. Appreciate it. Take care, everyone.
I really hope you enjoyed the show. I just wanted to pull it out there for anyone listening that I offer business coaching, but also life coaching. My life is centered around something called the 3 Bs, which stands for body, business, and balance. When you work with me as a coach, we tackle all 3 aspects of life. So you as an individual, body, mindset, health, fitness, knowledge, education. Business B obviously stands for your business, improving, maximizing opportunities, elevating, making more money. And balance stands for your friends, family, loved ones, making time for everything in your life. And the 3 Bs is the core element to that. If you'd like to learn more, I would ask you to reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you might be consuming my information. Or you can email me directly at wayne@offthetools.co.uk. I'm here waiting to assist you to elevate across all aspects of life. Have a good one. No excuses. Let's go.